I've been playing the Persona series all wrong, and so many people tried to warn me, I just simply wouldn't listen. To give a bit of background, I'm a fairly new Persona fan. I jumped into the series around the time Kingdom Hearts 3 was in development. The wait for the game was just so long, I, like many others, were looking for other games to give us our fix. Especially at the time, a lot of people who recommended this to me also knew I liked Kingdom Hearts. Now, Kingdom Hearts has a very unique Venn diagram with what kind of fans it pulls in. I've noticed that KH fans typically like a lot of the same things. As a Kingdom Hearts fan, you are half Disney adult and half anime weeaboo, whether you like it or not. What percent of each you are is completely up to your own habits. Your Disney adult half is more akin to animation, theme parks, cartoons, maybe the occasional 3D platformer. And the anime half is obviously the JRPG, straight up anime, manga, etc, etc. But in the case of Persona, this is definitely landing more on the anime side. It's easily one of the best looking games I've ever played, landing that anime art style on these 3D models, and I could gush about how much sauce the menus have for hours just like every other YouTuber on the planet. Although Persona and Kingdom Hearts do have a lot more in common. The biggest being is that these are spin-offs of their mainline titles, offering new gameplay experiences but still maintaining the DNA of the original series. And there's a massive emphasis on friendship as it pushes the story forward both in its narrative and its gameplay. If you've never played Persona, each entry is a standalone title. You'll control a character who moves into a new town and eventually discovers that they can summon a persona, these magical demonic creatures that you can use to defend yourself. You'll meet a ragtag group of individuals and you'll work together to solve whatever mystery this game entails. Now personally, I'm not super into turn-based RPGs. I really only like them if there's a parry or a dodging mechanic in play. Think more like Paper Mario or Expedition 33's combat. I need a little extra something to make the gameplay interactive for me. But Persona is a lot like Pokemon, where type advantages come into play, where you can stack your attacks in certain ways which are incredibly satisfying to chain. You can even pull it off where you can clear them out without your opponent moving at all. It quickly became very addictive to me. Because if there's one thing to know about me, I love Pokemon. But there is something about these games that I really didn't understand, and something I wish I knew when I had first started. Because it is Persona, I only acknowledge the RPG aspect of the game, but is now something that I consider a mortal sin as I've gotten more comfortable with the series. And I'm going to be begging for all of your forgiveness now. Because if you've played these games, and once you hear what I've done, you'll probably banish me if you could. Because now I even question if I played Persona properly, and we're gonna jump right into that. So let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of the Persona series? And while you're down there, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'd love to do more Persona videos, so your support would go a long way in making that happen. So my first game in the series was Persona 5. I imagine this was the first game for a lot of Persona peeps. I wasn't really following the game that much, but I knew it was taking a long time to come out. At the time, a lot of people were comparing it to Kingdom Hearts 3 because of all the developmental issues they were having. But it did eventually release on the PlayStation 3 to massive critical and financial success. And I'm not going to lie, Persona 5 takes a very long time to get the ball rolling. The game features palaces which function as the main dungeons of this game, and you don't really get into the nitty-gritty of the first palace until about 10 hours into the game. Mind you, this is my first time playing Persona ever. I wasn't aware that this series is a slow burn, something that takes time to get the ball rolling. This is also when I was still in college. I was young and way more impatient with my free time. So to get the ball rolling as fast as possible, I would go to sleep every night. Once the school day was over, I would return back to the cafe and just hit the bed and move on to the next day. Going to bed makes it so you can skip whatever afternoon activity you might have. As a beginner, the number of options at the start is incredibly overwhelming. It could have a lot to do with the city setting of the game, where everything is rustling and bustling with so much to do, but I was more so interested in getting strictly to the palace gameplay. I mean, this is where all the story and the combat situations were, and the side stories weren't capturing me in the beginning. So I completely skipped most of them to focus on the main story, and I did this for a majority of my first playthrough of the game, completing Persona 5 in a little under 80 hours. Which might seem like a long time for a single game, but average playthroughs of this game were going through 100 to 150 hours of content. Mind you, I did have fun with the game, but I can fully acknowledge my mistakes. I missed a big part of what makes Persona so special. Imagine spending a large part of your own life just going to work or school and then going right back home and then going to bed. Sure, you can live like that, but you know there's more that can come out of you. And I completely missed that by just going to sleep in the cafe. And that's in large part due to my stream chat just screaming at me for it. They were the ones to put the pressure on me to run the game again, and actually don't be a super hermit the entire time. So I waited until Persona 5 Royal was out there on the market to spin it back. This was essentially the same game with some new story content added into the mix. And in this new story content, you can only unlock it if you max up this character's social link. If you don't clear it before a certain time, all that new extra content is locked away forever. So it was then that I started taking the storylines a bit more seriously. I didn't want to miss the extra plot line that I just literally spent money on. So I looked up a guide to make all of that happen. But then I found myself getting caught up in his stories. What I thought would be surface level interactions have been some of the best talks I've ever had in a video game. The characters in Persona are surprisingly deep and nuanced. I wouldn't have known that by going to bed every night. Each has their own stories of drama and hardship that are worth listening for. Whether it's a character worried about their future on the track team, or if it's a local running for office by running a strict on-the-ground campaign. Not only because they're well written, but because it actually helps you in battle. Improving your social link will make your persona stronger for your exploration. The deeper you strengthen that bond, the more powerful you become. I found myself hanging out with friends after school, hitting up the arcade, and maybe a nice restaurant, all because it slowly built up our skill set outside of the dungeons. Finally, I started to understand the gameplay loop of Persona, and it's addicting. I finished Persona 5 Royal, nearly maxing out every social link and getting the extra ending. I didn't go to bed a single time throughout my entire playthrough. Eventually, they did a re-release of Persona 4 Golden on PC, and I quickly grabbed it and played it, this time with the full Persona experience. I want to say that Persona 4's cast is probably my favorite in the series so far. I think they've got the best chemistry of all the other groups and individually have so much going on. I also think the smaller setting for this town helped out to help us focus on the characters instead of the big city environment. Chie might be my personal favorite Persona character of all time. She's a bit headstrong and also has a coconut head haircut, which makes me laugh every time I see it on screen. Mind you, I'm still not perfect at maxing out the social stuff. Sometimes you really gotta get certain dialogue options to max out certain things. And it's possible that certain options only happen on certain days and you might miss that too. It's important to pay attention to your time management, which has been the greatest skill this game has taught me. It's often where I try to put too much on my plate at a time, I try to see my friends too often, or work too much, or don't exercise enough. Persona is the perfect exercise in time management. Each day you're given maybe 1 or 2 tasks that you can do. On certain occasions you can do more, but for the most part you need to pick and choose what you want to do first. Do I want to build up a social link with one of my friends? Do I want to go to the library or study? Maybe I want to go and fight some shadows today. Or maybe I want a nice and calming bowl of ramen. Meaning you need to pick and choose what you'll be earning each time. Which taught me you cannot have it all. Trying to put too much on your head is just going to overwhelm you. Finding a healthy balance between your friends and your own growth is essential, and too much of one thing will leave the other standing there neglected. It gets tough to try and clear out everything in a single playthrough, which is why so many people carry over their stuff into New Game Plus. You'll just run out of time otherwise and not be able to do it all. I've adopted the Persona calendar system so much in my life that whenever I hang out with my friends, I call it building my social links. And as I've gotten older, being more efficient with my time has become incredibly valuable. Now, this is where we arrive into the present day, as I'm currently playing Persona 3 Reload on my Nintendo Switch 2 for the very first time. And I am running a strict regimen of how my days are looking. I don't ever sleep and I always commit to spending time outside. I try to meet up with friends to boot up their Arcana to make Tartarus easier. I actually get so stressed if I don't pick the best dialogue option that I will go into the game settings and rewind time so I can do it again. I've never taken Persona this seriously, but it feels like the first time I truly understand the mechanics. Even when I'm unsure about something, I try to look it up so I don't make a mistake, where I can tackle it using everything I know for a more optimal gaming experience. For example, whenever a new pathway opens up in Tartarus, I make sure to get the loot fortune first, making it so rare shadows will spawn when exploring, dropping more XP and items than regular enemies. And then I clear out that entire section of Tartarus in one sitting. My team might be in complete shambles by the end of it, but I still did the entire thing without having to spend multiple days on it. It's nice and helpful that the game gives you a phone and shows you what you can do for the day. At the start, you receive messages which options are available. It makes it so much easier to figure out who I want to spend time with. I think it also helps that I'm playing this on the Nintendo Switch 2, as opposed to the PlayStation or PC versions where I'm trapped to wherever my setup is. With the Switch 2, I can easily trim off a few days in the game while I'm traveling. Even with Persona 3 being one of the shorter entries in the series, the game averages still about 60 to 70 hours to beat. To have a game like this be portable, absolute game changer. Mind you, I'm still fairly early into this one, maybe 20 or 30 hours so far, but Persona is definitely a series I've grown to love. It's also really funny playing this series as a full-blown adult. At least when I first played Persona 5, I was still in college, so schooling was something that I was used to experiencing. But now that I've been out of academia for a few years now, hearing all these kids talk about their future and their extracurriculars, I feel like this playing the game sometimes.
Dude, what the f***? Why are you f***ing here, man? You're so old. Where's your wife? Go home to your family, dude.
If Persona has taught me anything, it's that life is what you make it, so let's make it rock. Wait, isn't that? Persona has been an excellent teacher in time management in ways that I couldn't even imagine. While it is a super long game to get through, no matter which one you pick, it's definitely worth the slow burn. You start to understand these characters and see their motives and missions. Plenty of dialogue to make them almost feel like real friends to you. It's impressive. Me playing through Persona 3 makes me want to go back and play Persona 4 and 5 again. Now that I'm more optimal with how I tackle my days, I want to experience those games again with all the knowledge I have now. Of course, if you can, share some of your own Persona experiences in the comment section below. One of my personal favorites is in Persona 5 Royal, where you're able to have multiple girlfriends if you max out their social links, but at one point in the game they eventually find out about each other, all meeting up in the same room discovering the truth of what's happening. And then they just put the beats on you. Obviously my punishment for being a little sloot, but it's still a hilarious interaction to experience. I know not to make that same mistake again. Watch, when Persona 6 comes out for the PlayStation 7, I'll be 50 by then and looking forward to another semester at a Japanese high school. It would be cool to see these kind of characters in a more college setting. But college campuses are more of an American concept, so that's not really something they do in Japan. So I doubt Atlus is ever going to age up their cast for this kind of stuff. But just think of the social links. College professor, local townies, sorority girls, same major classmates. I would love to see something like that. But still, thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and stay awesome.